Welcome to the August 24th Eclipse OpenJ9 community call. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees just so we have some idea who's been attending these calls. And then we'll skip down to the start of our agenda where we pause. If there's anything you'd like to add to the agenda today that's not already on the list, feel free to chime in now or at any point throughout the meeting. We can also add things in at the any other business section. So I'll just pause for a minute if there's things people want to bring up now. All right. Then I believe we have a lightning talk this week. Check the list. I thought there was one more Aqua lightning talk. So Oscar, are you on the call? Okay, I don't see Oscar. So why don't we continue on with our schedule and we can circle back there if needed later. All right, so if there are other lightning talks people would like to give in the future, please let us know. We're happy to get those scheduled. I think getting another update on any additional progress on JIT server would be good, Marius, especially as we look to productize that in 17.
Yeah, I can. Are you talking about a lightning talk or just
Yeah,
a
lightning
regular
talk.
update?
Lightning talk would be good.
Okay, maybe 2 weeks from now, because next week I'm going to be on vacation, where I'm preparing to go on vacation. So 2 weeks from now.
September 7th.
Yeah, that's immediately. Yeah, that should be fine.
It would also be good. I don't see Gita on the call, but it would also be good to see if we could get something about some of the vector API changes that are coming in. So if somebody who has more regular contact with Gita would reach out to her, it might be good to get that scheduled as well.
I'll talk to Gita. I have a meeting with her later on.
Thanks, Daryl.
Okay.
Take a quick look at the user-raised issues that have come in over the past little bit. There is a question about GC pause times increasing. See that Dimitri's already engaged there, so that's probably being addressed. Some requests for improved error messages coming out of the
recording is on.
Class loading. So something that we should take a look at as well. Then there was a request that would have come in last little bit. I see it's assigned to Dimitri as well, or created by Dimitri. Question around M-beans. So I've tagged Keith in that, and Pete, you probably have more experience in the M-bean area than I do. So if the two of you could weigh in on that, that would probably be good. Is there anything else in this list that needs some discussion today?
The second user raised issue about improving the error message. I don't know if that's something that we would consider. I'm not sure if we should be adding this to a milestone or just rejecting it, putting it in the backlog.
I don't know why we would reject it. It seems like a fairly straightforward change. Our error messages have been historically poor in this area, so I see it's there would certainly be useful. Why don't we tentatively add it to 0.29 and see what kind of progress we can make there?
I know exactly what kind of progress we'll make.
Hopefully, if we're in that space for something else, this will be a small fix that we can take in at the same time. Any others that we should call out or discuss? jump back to the agenda and we'll take a look at the download trends from Adopt. Switch to the OpenJ9 download trends. We see the same kind of pattern we usually do, that weekend dip followed by the increase over the week and then dropping back down over the weekend. The downloads, 8 continues to be a fairly steady amount of that. Definitely less than 11, which is where the majority of our downloads are coming. 16 doesn't seem to represent much in the way of our downloads at all. Patterns continue to be fairly stable there. Is there anything else people wanted to look at here? All right, then we come to the major item for today, which is the Java 17 release. We'll note that, as posted on Slack, we have delayed the code split until the 25th. And the reason for the delay was to ensure that we could get all the performance-related fixes for method handles in or double delivery and to continue to get that extra testing. So please do hold off features until we announce that that code split is complete.
We probably need somebody else to actually do the code split, as I don't think I'll be here.
All right, do we have a volunteer who wants to help
I
drive
can
that?
I can help it with that.
Okay, thanks, Keith. All right, so then I'll pull up the Milestone Plan. We still have 44 open items. A lot of these continue to be related to method handle semantics. And so it's not entirely clear what else in this list needs to be tackled that isn't method handle. Why don't we take if there's something in this list that's not method handle related that somebody thinks needs attention or is worried about it not closing in time, let's call that out now to make sure it's getting the appropriate attention.
I will say that I'm not sure we have issues open for all the failures that are occurring. So I've turned off the open JDK 16 build and I've enabled the JDK 17 build, which is building the latest JDK 17 with OpenJDK method handles. So there are extended system failures that, at least the first one I went looking at, I didn't seem to have any issue for it. So I'm going to have to go through them all and make sure we have issues for all of those.
Extended suite doesn't have issues. Is that with the method handles enabled, Pete?
Yeah. At least I think so. We don't. I know it wouldn't compile without method handles enabled. So I guess it's doing the right thing.
Okay. My understanding, based on some email discussions, was that the OpenJDK method handles were only enabled in the staging branches.
Yeah, so that's what's being built is the staging branch. Which takes us to our something else we should discuss. I think we should just go ahead and promote the staging branch. There are still a couple of failures, but I don't know that we're getting any benefit out of having a separate staging branch and an OpenJ9 branch. So what I did to prepare for that is I took the current state of the OpenJ9 JDK 17 branch, and I created a new branch called pre-OpenJDK method handles, just so we have a record of what it is. And I think we should just go ahead and promote with the known problems.
Yeah, so the method handles, the OpenJDK method handles are only on the staging branch, which has not yet been promoted to the OpenJ9 branch.
Right, so I'm suggesting we just go
Otherwise,
ahead
your
and
new branch
promote it.
doesn't make sense.
Sorry, I'll play back what I heard just to make sure we're all on the same page. Pete, that you've branched the code, so we have a point in time that tells us pre-method handles, so we can refer back, and now we're ready to flip the staging branch into our usual branch. And the intention is to do that even though there are a few failures still.
Correct.
Will those failures block promotions or be surprising in PR builds, or are they mostly in testing or running PR builds?
The failures are in Sanity OpenJDK. So I don't know if people run Sanity OpenJDK. One, it was an intermittent JIT crash. Not sure how intermittent it is. And the other one seems to occur in the two builds that ran recently. It occurred in both builds. And there's not a heck of a lot of information. It just says unexpected exit code 137. Running some var handle tests.
Sounds to me like, given where we're at in the timeline for shipping 17, we do need to promote this staging branch and get this in and work through whatever it takes to get the remaining failures fixed. Are there any concerns or objections to promoting that staging branch?
Well, I'm not hearing anything. Nothing comes up. I'm going to do that after this meeting. You can use that old branch. I corrected the name in the minutes. Anybody can use that old branch to build the pre-OpenJDK method handles code. And I'll fix the nightly build to stop building from staging. Probably we're not going to get any more OpenJDK content. Should be done by now. But
Agreed.
if we do happen to get something else, I'll make sure it goes through. Probably be some minor fix.
Sounds reasonable. The other question I had was about dates here. We had tentatively put milestone builds in.
So we're going to have to check with Adam if he can accommodate milestone builds given the IBM schedules to release IBM builds. And what do we mean by August 25th? Does that mean that everything that's going to be merged has to be merged today and we'll have builds tonight and then code split tomorrow? Or
You're right. Typically, we say the next day. So it would be based off of the build tonight, or based off the build the night of the 25th.
Yeah.
Do we want to adjust the M2 date as well? Because 3 days later, not much is going to happen, I wouldn't think.
That was going to be my follow-on question was, do we actually have enough time in here to make it meaningful to have 2 milestone builds?
I'm going to be surprised if we actually make the GA date. So maybe we want to do a milestone 2 around the GA. And see when all the problems are resolved and we can actually have a GA.
I guess the only thing about keeping M2 where it would be is if we don't get everything that we think that we need to get in for code split tomorrow. So if we get most of the changes that we know that we need to get in, yet there may be a couple of other ones that require more review or more testing, they may not make it, which means that they may benefit from another build shortly thereafter.
So we don't have to do a milestone 1 starting on August 25th, even though we're doing the code split. We can say, you know, when
Push it
is
to
everybody
Friday.
ready for a milestone 1?
Does it make sense to target August 30th then as the milestone 1 date? That gives us a couple of days or gives us 2 weeks till the actual GA to figure out if we need to do a milestone 2 at that GA date or if we're prepared to actually GA. Does that sound like a reasonable approach?
I'm
Yep.
in favor of moving M1 out. I don't know if it needs to move all the way to August 30th, though. I'm not sure we need that much time. Can we play that one by ear? Like if we haven't, if we're going to split on Wednesday, regardless, and there may be a couple of stragglers coming in after that, can we play that one by ear and just do it when those stragglers come in, let's say by Friday, something like that? So we don't have to wait until the 30th. We just do it when we're ready, but no later than the 30th.
So we're going to have nightly builds running. Keith, can you make sure that the nightly build is building from the branch? And then any official M1 is going to have to be done internal to IBM. And like I said, I'm not sure if we can accommodate that at this time. We're not even running regular nightly builds internal to IBM.
Sorry, Pete, you want the nightly builds to build from the 2.8 branch?
Correct. I can send you a link after the meeting, but
Sure.
That's what we're shipping. I think that's what we need to be building every night, so we keep our focus on what we're shipping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, I joined late, but I'm here now. My ears are ringing. If you're splitting Wednesday and there's still stragglers, I would say Monday's a good target date for doing an M1 inside. This Friday will probably be Summer Friday for me.
If we're talking milestone builds only being available inside IBM, then I think we can drop that discussion from this call, as it won't be, if the builds aren't available externally, they're not really relevant to the...
We should be able to publish them externally.
They'll just get pushed to GitHub, but there'll be no API to fetch them, but people can use the GitHub links to get them.
The adopt API will serve them up.
That'll just happen automatically? Or does adopt have to do something to...
It should be automatic.
The API, I don't think the API is ever...
maybe not for the
milestone
milestones.
builds.
Okay, we'll have to check on that.
I think we were on our own for milestone builds and we just provided links to the GitHub pages.
Okay.
All right, so it sounds like we're targeting one milestone for sure, potentially second milestone or the GA on September 14th, depending on how stable we look.
But meanwhile, we'll be building it nightly in the open. It won't be running the special system tests, but it'll run everything else. Well, it'll run the Sanity and extended functional and system and the Sanity OpenJDK.
You run the special on the weekend?
We have been running the special on the weekend, yeah.
Adam, will we be ready to run AR64 as part of that?
Yeah.
We're waiting for more machines, right? Or to split up our existing machine, because right now we
Sorry,
only
are
have
we talking
one.
inside or outside? Inside we have machines, outside we just have the one, but we have the go ahead to split it up now. But I don't know if that work will be ready for Monday or not.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we get the same level of testing coverage, be it inside IBM or out on AR64.
Yeah, it'll happen inside for sure.
Okay.
I realize we've burnt through a lot of time at this point, but it would be good to talk about where we are in terms of method handles. Jack, do you want to give us an update on the pending issues there?
Yes, Dan. So right now, without Peter's update in terms of the unreported test failures in the extended ones, right now all the test failures I think were reported based on running Linux builds on Sanity and extended, and we haven't noticed a lot of the extended in Linux, I guess. Some of the reports that Peter may get, I feel may come from like non-Linux platforms. Not 100% sure, but I will verify with the build that Peter have been mentioning. So right now we have 6 remaining work items for VM site. 3 are related to the same MPE failures that we have seen. I am currently holding off this a bit as Nazim and Devin from the JIT team mentioned they have seen similar issues and they have been able to implement some fix for it. So I want to verify the changes with the JIT change and see if that solves the issue. The illegal access issue, I am currently working on it, and hopefully I should get to the end of it by today. We're also seeing a GC assertion failure in the special system test that was, I believe, reported on Mac, and we have not observed similar failures in Linux. So we'll have to double check that again in Mac system to make sure that either it's gone or some special thing we need to look into. We were able to close out, I think, around 5 to 10 issues last week. I think 4 of them were being issues with how we set up the test configuration, and we corrected the test configuration, and that one was fixed. And we also fixed, we also removed the fuse that was failing before but no longer fails with the latest build.
And just to make sure I understood that there are these 6 or these 5 issues here that have been found on Linux so far, and the status on other platforms is unknown or uncertain?
We've been running regular builds with Linux and some of Windows as well. I believe we're seeing the least amount of failures on Windows since that's the least amount of tests being actually run on Windows. I don't think we have been monitoring Mac and AIX closely.
Hi, can I add a comment? And basically, I run a personal build against the JDK 17 build on OpenJ9 staging branch, also JDK 16 head, and on AIX, then PowerPC 64 Little Indian Linux and the Linux, and also Mac and Windows. So almost like every day, sometimes there was an issue to launch. So the issue I discovered in the personal build all reported so far. So definitely maybe there are some maybe machine difference. Just recently noticed one of exit code 137 reported in the external, I think what platform, PowerPC LE, but not observed in the internal test. So such kind of difference could be present, but otherwise we do run JDK updated OpenJ9 staging test internally on the platform I just mentioned.
Okay, and so you're not seeing these issues or you're not seeing a large increase of other issues in your builds, Jason?
Yeah, I have been running this since, because we don't have a nightly, weekly build since 0.27 release, so I have to run personal build like kind of regularly. So all the issues I discovered have been reported, and some of them looks duplicate. I would probably not target at 0.28, but I also targeted a few of them. So, but all the issue I saw definitely reported. That's I didn't see dramatically the difference in platforms. Some platform I specified in issue, but one thing is in mainly in the special system test suite, there are more test values. One of problem is we have some, I believe one of class Java RMI activatable got removed, so cause bunch of class not found exception. So that might block some other test running. Yeah, otherwise I didn't see much in the platform huge difference. There was some mark specific value from the issue I opened.
Jason, can you take a look through those issues that you've opened and just make sure they're tagged to 0.28 if they're appropriate for that release?
Yeah, I will go through again. Yeah, sure.
Daryl, can you give an up? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so there is a mentioned issue in GC 13180, but I noticed it looked like the same issue as we have two more opens against this. One of them I know Daryl assigned asked to ARM guys to look, but look like we have the same issue happens on Mac. So I just added links to these two issues. Probably it's not specific meta handle thing.
Thanks, Dimitri. Daryl, do you have an update on the performance?
Yeah, so actually first, before I say that, Jack, I will send, after this call, I'll send you a link to the JDK 17 build that we've been using on Linux, x86 Linux. That includes all of the changes that we've been working with. So maybe you can run that against some of the NPEs that you're seeing to see if they go away. Hopefully they fail on x86 Linux. Okay, so in terms of the work we've been doing, so what we've been trying to do for the past several days is to get the various changes that we've been making incorporated into the builds. So as of today, we've gotten all the OMR changes integrated and promoted, and we are still waiting for 4 OpenJ9 PRs to make their way through testing and reviews. I think the reviews are going to be okay. The challenge that we've had is just getting stable PR builds on all the different platforms through. It's not like they're finding problems. They're just various issues that need to be, these builds need to be handheld. So there's 4 that are still outstanding. Yesterday we're about to create 2 more PRs for issues that we've discovered, and I expect those to be open today. And then there is just one functional issue that I'm aware of that we discovered running one of the Ruby tests. We're not sure yet what the problem is, but it's an NPE, of course, like all other problems. And we're just trying to get to the bottom of that one. But I think that many of those PRs will get merged by tomorrow, and if there happens to be, I don't know if not having all of them in should hold up a code freeze. I think that we should just dual deliver it after that point. But I think we're in pretty good shape for the next couple of days. The other thing that we need to do as well, we've been looking at the actual performance of these changes. Generally, it looks pretty good. There are still a couple of outliers that we are keeping our eye on and doing a bit of investigation on to see if we can understand where some of that performance is going. But again, that's something that could potentially be added after we split the code. That's where things are.
Thanks, Daryl. Is there anything on the AArch64 work that still needs to be talked about, or is that complete for
No, all
JDK?
those items are in. So we're just doing some performance testing with it right now to validate where we are. I hope to have some data that I can share in the next little while. So things are looking fairly good on the workloads that we care about.
Good to hear. Is there anything else we need to cover or discuss around the 17 release?
I have a question, not like in discussion. Look like split day for tomorrow. It's kind of very tight. We need to do a lot of things, a lot of GDPR supposed to be merged, supposed to be merged entire branch. So would it help if we postpone it for a day or two, or like make it Monday? Because I would expect a lot of problems will happen after all this activity. Again, I'm not insistent, but probably we will need to do double delivery a lot.
So it's a good question. So let's, Daryl, Jack, Peter, the people, working directly on these issues. What I've heard so far is you think the majority of these things are going to be merged before.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I expect that most of those PRs are going to be merged. If we have an outstanding one, there might be one or two. The changes that we are making in the JIT, at least, tend to be fairly localized to very specific parts of the JIT, like inlining or method refinement or things like that. And I don't expect there to be a lot of activity in those places, which should make double delivery fairly easy. There won't be conflicts to have to resolve. So if there are a couple of extra PRs that we need to add after a split date, I'm okay with that. I don't really want to hold up the code split longer than we really have to.
Same from the VM team. Right now, we're only looking at specific test failures that are a result of the investigation from the testing. We don't have any major changes that are actually required to have like functional or any of the VM's performance stuff being done.
Okay, so it sounds like the belief is this should be attainable, and if it turns out not to be, we can always take a look at what needs to be double delivered and see if there's other ways to improve that. But I think it's probably good to get that split complete.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should be doing the split as soon as possible and stop the code freeze so people can get their pending changes in.
Performance-wise, we should expect probably a 8 to 9% startup regression compared to Java 11. So that's 17 compared to 11. We're trying to work on it, but there isn't much hope that we'll improve it by GA.
Sorry, an 8 to 9%? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes. That's with Liberty.
All right, so it sounds like we may have to eat that to get 17 out the door in a reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
All right. I'll assume that there's investigation going on to how to resolve that as quickly as possible so we can hopefully have it fixed by M1 or by 17 release update 1. Which typically comes about a month after, the GA. Is that the intention, Marius?
Yes.
All right. I know we're over. Sorry, go ahead.
Just speaking of the next release, maybe we should just nail down some dates. I could just tell you what I think they should be. Like a code split, September 5th.
September 5.
With the Milestone 1, when IBM can accommodate it sometime September 6th or beyond. M2, the 27th. And then release activities would start on the 19th of October.
This is about the 0.29 release, not 2.8, or am I misunderstanding?
No.
You're right. I copied and pasted. Dent. Oh, there are days. Fiddle with the formatting later. Given that we are over time, is there anything in these other areas that needs to be called out today? If there is, please speak up and we can dig into any of them. All right, then I guess our next call is on August 31st. Sure, we'll be in contact before then around release delivery and timelines for that. So thanks, everyone, and we'll talk again next week.
Thank you.